I woke up early, excited for our first morning as a married couple. Priya was still asleep, looking peaceful and beautiful. I decided to surprise her with breakfast in bed. I quietly slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the kitchen. I had never made breakfast before, but how hard could it be? I started with toast, figuring that was the easiest. The toaster popped, and the toast was burnt. I tried again, adjusting the settings on the toaster. This time, the toast was undercooked and soggy. I sighed and moved on to making eggs. I cracked the first egg too hard, and the yolk spilled everywhere. The second egg went better, but it stuck to the pan. By the time I finished, the kitchen was a mess. But I had a plate of toast, eggs, and a cup of tea. I carefully carried the tray back to our bedroom. Priya was awake, smiling at me.
Good morning, my chef,
she teased. I hope you're ready for a gourmet breakfast, I replied, trying to sound confident. She laughed as she took a bite of the toast.
It's interesting,
she said, trying to be polite. We both burst into laughter.
Maybe I'll handle breakfast from now on,
she suggested. I nodded, relieved. But it's the thought that counts, right? I said. Priya smiled and kissed me on the cheek.
Definitely,
she agreed. We spent the morning laughing about my cooking skills. It wasn't perfect, but it was our first shared experience as a married couple. And that made it special. I realized that our life together would be filled with such moments. Moments of love, laughter, and learning. I was excited for all the adventures that lay ahead. Little did I know, this was just the beginning. Our journey together was going to be full of surprises. And I was ready for every single one of them. A week after our wedding, Priya and I decided to go grocery shopping together. I thought it would be a simple task. We made a list of everything we needed.
It'll be quick,
Priya assured me. In and out, no problem, I replied confidently. As soon as we entered the store, I realized how wrong I was. There were so many aisles, and everything was so organized. Too organized, in fact. Priya led the way, navigating through the aisles like a pro. I followed, pushing the cart, trying to keep up.
We need tomatoes,
she said, stopping suddenly. I turned the cart, knocking over a display of cereal boxes. Oops, I muttered, picking them up quickly. Priya was already at the vegetable section, selecting tomatoes. I rushed over, trying not to cause any more accidents.
Which ones do you think are the best?
She asked. I stared at the tomatoes, unsure what to say. The red ones? I guessed. Priya chuckled and picked out a few.
You're learning,
she teased. We continued through the store, picking up items on our list. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. Until we reached the snacks aisle. I have a weakness for snacks. Chips, cookies, candy, you name it, I love it.
We don't need any junk food,
Priya reminded me. Just a few things, I pleaded. She rolled her eyes but smiled.
Okay, but only a few,
she agreed. I quickly grabbed my favorite chips and cookies. Priya added some healthy snacks to balance it out.
You're going to eat these too,
she insisted. I nodded, though I wasn't entirely convinced. We reached the checkout, and I started loading the items onto the counter. Priya was busy checking her phone. I realized I had forgotten to bring the reusable bags. I'll be right back, I said, running to the car. By the time I returned, the cashier was waiting, and Priya was giving me a look. Sorry, I mumbled, handing over the bags. We packed the groceries and headed back home.
That was chaotic.
Priya said, laughing as we unloaded the bags. Next time, we'll be more organized, I promised.
Or maybe I'll go alone.
She joked. Hey, I'm a fast learner, I protested. She replied, grinning. Despite the craziness, we had fun. Every little mishap became a memory. And I knew that as long as we were together, even the simplest tasks would be an adventure. One evening, Priya and I decided to cook dinner together.
Let's try making something new.
Priya suggested. How about pasta? I proposed, feeling adventurous.
Pasta it is.
She agreed, pulling out a recipe book. We gathered all the ingredients and started cooking. I was in charge of boiling the pasta.
Just follow the instructions on the package.
Priya advised. How hard can it be? I thought to myself. I filled a pot with water and set it on the stove. Salt, I remembered, adding a generous amount. I turned the heat up high, eager to get the water boiling. Meanwhile, Priya was preparing the sauce. The kitchen was filled with the smell of garlic and tomatoes. This smells amazing, I said, inhaling deeply.
It's all about the right spices.
Priya replied, smiling. I looked at the pot of water, waiting for it to boil. Should it be taking this long? I wondered.
How's the pasta coming along?
Priya asked, glancing over. It's not boiling yet, I admitted. She walked over and looked at the pot.
Did you turn on the stove?
She asked, raising an eyebrow. I froze, realizing my mistake. Oops, I muttered, turning the stove on. Priya burst out laughing.
It happens to the best of us.
She teased. I'm never living this down, am I? I joked.
Stir it occasionally.
Priya reminded me. I nodded, determined not to mess up again. Priya was almost done with the sauce. She added the final touch, a sprinkle of fresh basil.
It's perfect.
She declared, tasting it. I can't wait to try it, I said, stirring the pasta. Finally, the pasta was cooked. We drained it and mixed it with the sauce.
Moment of truth.
Priya said, serving us both. I took a bite, savoring the flavors. This is amazing, I exclaimed.
Not bad for our first try.
Priya agreed, smiling. We sat down to eat, enjoying our homemade meal. I think we make a great team, I said, raising my fork.
We do.
Priya replied, clinking her fork against mine. The evening was filled with laughter and good food. I realized that cooking together was more than just making dinner. It was about sharing the experience, the mistakes, and the successes. And it was about creating memories that we would cherish. Let's do this more often, I suggested.
I'd love that.
Priya agreed. As we finished our meal, I felt a deep sense of contentment. Life was good, and I was grateful for every moment we shared. A few weeks later, Priya and I decided to redecorate our living room. We ordered a new bookshelf online, and it arrived in a large, flat box. How hard can it be to assemble? I said confidently as we opened the box.
Famous last words.
Priya teased, handing me the instructions. I unfolded the instructions, which were longer than I expected. We've got this, I said, determined to prove myself. We spread out all the pieces on the floor. There were more parts than I had anticipated. This piece goes here, I said, pointing to the diagram.
Are you sure?
Priya asked, raising an eyebrow. Positive, I replied, grabbing a screwdriver. We started assembling the bookshelf, piece by piece. It was going well, at first.
Wait, this doesn't fit.
Priya said, holding up a shelf. It's supposed to go there, I insisted, looking at the instructions again.
But it doesn't match the holes.
She pointed out. I stared at the diagram, confused.
Maybe we skipped a step?
Priya suggested. I flipped back a few pages in the instructions. Uh-oh, I muttered, realizing we had missed a crucial part.
We have to take it apart and start over,
Priya said, sighing. Well, at least we're getting practice, I joked, trying to stay positive. We disassembled the bookshelf and started again, this time following each step carefully. Slowly but surely, the bookshelf began to take shape.
This is actually kind of fun,
Priya said, smiling as we worked together. I agree, I replied, feeling a sense of accomplishment. Finally, we attached the last shelf. It's done, I exclaimed, stepping back to admire our work.
It looks great,
Priya said, giving me a high five. We placed the bookshelf against the wall and started filling it with books. I think we're becoming quite the DIY experts, I said, grinning.
Just don't let it go to your head,
Priya replied, laughing. We spent the rest of the afternoon arranging our books and adding decorations. The living room felt cozy and inviting. Our little project turned out pretty well, I said, feeling proud.
It did,
Priya agreed, wrapping her arm around me. As we sat down on the couch, I realized that these small projects were more than just tasks. They were opportunities for us to work together, to communicate, and to strengthen our bond. And that was what made them truly special. One weekend, Priya and I decided to take a road trip. Let's just get in the car and go, I suggested. No plans, no destination, just the open road.
That sounds perfect,
Priya agreed, her eyes lighting up. We packed a few essentials, grabbed some snacks, and set off.
Where should we go?
Priya asked as we started driving. Anywhere and everywhere, I replied with a grin. We headed out of the city, enjoying the feeling of freedom. The weather was perfect, sunny and warm with a light breeze.
Let's take the scenic route,
Priya suggested, pointing to a sign for a country road. I turned the car, and we found ourselves driving through beautiful landscapes. Rolling hills, lush green fields, and quaint little towns dotted the way.
This is so peaceful,
Priya said, leaning back in her seat. It really is, I agreed, feeling completely relaxed. We stopped at a roadside cafe for lunch, enjoying the simple, delicious food. This is what life is all about, I said, savoring my meal. Good food, good company, and new experiences.
I couldn't agree more,
Priya replied, smiling at me. After lunch, we continued our journey, driving wherever the road took us. We listened to music, sang along to our favorite songs, and talked about everything and nothing.
Let's stop here,
Priya said, pointing to a beautiful lake we passed. We parked the car and walked down to the water's edge. The lake was calm and clear, reflecting the blue sky above.
It's so serene,
Priya whispered, taking in the view. I'm glad we came here, I said, wrapping my arm around her. We sat by the lake for a while, just enjoying the moment.
This has been the perfect day,
Priya said, resting her head on my shoulder. And it's not over yet, I replied, smiling. As the sun began to set, we got back in the car and headed home.
Let's do this again sometime,
Priya said as we drove. Absolutely, I agreed. The road trip reminded me of the importance of spontaneity and adventure in our lives. It was the unexpected moments that often brought the most joy. And I knew that as long as Priya and I were together, we would continue to find joy in every journey. The day before our anniversary, I told Priya to pack a bag.
Why? Where are we going?
she asked, curious but excited. It's a surprise, I replied with a wink. She smiled, knowing I wouldn't give anything away.
Okay, I trust you,
she said, heading to our bedroom to pack. The next morning, we set off early.
Any hints?
Priya asked as we drove. None at all, I responded, grinning. The drive took us through winding roads and up into the mountains. Priya's eyes sparkled as she looked out at the beautiful scenery.
This is amazing already,
she said, squeezing my hand. Just wait, I replied, eager to see her reaction. After a few hours, we arrived at the cabin. It was nestled among tall pine trees, with a view of the mountains in the distance.
This is incredible,
Priya exclaimed as we stepped out of the car. Happy anniversary, I said, pulling her into a hug.
I can't believe you planned all this,
she said, her eyes misty with happiness. You deserve it, I replied, feeling proud of my surprise. We spent the afternoon exploring the area around the cabin. There were hiking trails, a small stream, and plenty of spots to just sit and enjoy the peace and quiet.
This is exactly what I needed,
Priya said as we sat by the stream. I'm so glad you like it, I replied, watching her smile. As evening approached, I started preparing dinner. I'm cooking tonight, I announced, taking charge of the small kitchen in the cabin.
Really? I can't wait to see what you make,
Priya said, teasing me. I had planned a simple but special meal, grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, and a bottle of wine we had saved for a special occasion.
This smells amazing,
Priya said, peeking over my shoulder. Just wait until you taste it, I replied, focused on getting everything just right. We set the table outside, under the stars. The night was cool, and the air was filled with the sounds of nature.
This is perfect,
Priya said as we sat down to eat. We toasted to our first year of marriage, to the memories we had made, and to the future that awaited us.
Thank you for this,
Priya said, her voice filled with emotion. For everything. I'm just happy that I could make you smile, I replied, reaching for her hand. After dinner, we moved to the cabin's porch, where a cozy fire pit was waiting. S'mores? I asked, pulling out a bag of marshmallows.
You thought of everything,
Priya laughed, grabbing a stick. We roasted marshmallows and shared stories from our year together.
Do you remember our first date?
Priya asked, her eyes twinkling. How could I forget? I replied, chuckling at the memory.
You were so nervous,
she teased, nudging me. And you were so calm, I countered, smiling at her.
I was just as nervous,
she admitted, surprising me. Really? You didn't show it, I said, amazed.
Well, I guess I'm good at hiding it,
she replied, laughing. We spent hours by the fire, talking, laughing, and just enjoying each other's company. As the fire died down, we made our way inside the cabin.
This has been the best anniversary,
Priya said as we settled into bed. I'm so glad, I replied, feeling content. We fell asleep to the sounds of the forest outside, wrapped in the warmth of each other's presence. The next morning, we woke up early to watch the sunrise.
It's beautiful,
Priya whispered as the first rays of light peeked over the mountains. Not as beautiful as you, I replied, earning a playful nudge from her.
You're such a romantic,
she said, laughing softly. Only for you, I said, wrapping my arm around her. We spent the rest of the day exploring the mountains, taking in the breathtaking views.
I don't want this weekend to end,
Priya said as we hiked up a trail. Neither do I replied, holding her hand. But eventually, it was time to head back home.
Thank you for this unforgettable anniversary,
Priya said as we packed up the car. I'll cherish these memories forever. Me too, I replied, feeling grateful for the time we had spent together. As we drove back down the mountain, I realized that it wasn't just the destination that had made this weekend special. It was the time we had spent together, the love we had shared, and the memories we had created. And I knew that no matter where life took us, we would always have these moments to look back on. A few months after our anniversary, Priya and I started talking about expanding our family.
Do you think we are ready?
Priya asked one evening as we sat on the couch. I think we are, I replied, feeling both excited and nervous. We decided that it was the right time to start trying for a baby.
This is a big step.
Priya said, her hand on her stomach. But it's one I'm ready to take with you, I assured her. The next few months were filled with anticipation and hope. I wonder what our child will be like, Priya said one night as we lay in bed.
We are going to be parents,
she said, tears of joy in her eyes. I can't believe it, I said, overwhelmed with happiness. We hugged tightly, both of us filled with excitement for the future. The next few months flew by as we prepared for the arrival of our baby. We decorated the nursery, picked out baby clothes, and attended prenatal classes.
This is really happening,
Priya said as we painted the nursery walls a soft shade of yellow. It's happening, I replied, smiling at her. As Priya's due date approached, I could sense her nerves.
What if I'm not a good mother?
She worried one evening. You're going to be amazing, I reassured her. And I'll be with you every step of the way. Finally, the day arrived. Priya went into labor early one morning, and we rushed to the hospital. This is it, I said, holding her hand tightly as we arrived at the maternity ward. The hours that followed were both intense and emotional. Priya was incredibly strong, and I did my best to support her. You're doing great, I kept saying, trying to stay calm. After what felt like an eternity, we heard the first cries of our baby. It's a girl, the doctor announced, handing our daughter to Priya. Tears filled my eyes as I looked at our newborn for the first time. She's beautiful, I whispered, overwhelmed with love. Priya smiled through her tears as she held our baby close.
We did it,
she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. We did, I replied, kissing her forehead. We spent the next few days in the hospital, adjusting to life as new parents.
She's so tiny,
Priya said as she cradled our daughter. And so perfect, I added, feeling a deep sense of awe. We brought our baby home, and our lives changed forever. The sleepless nights, the endless diaper changes, the constant worry, it was all worth it.
I can't believe how much I love her already,
Priya said one night as we watched our daughter sleep. Me too, I replied, feeling the same overwhelming love. As we settled into our new roles as parents, I realized that this was the start of a new chapter in our lives. A chapter filled with challenges, joys, and endless love. And I knew that no matter what came our way, we would face it together. Because we were not just husband and wife anymore, we were a family. And that made everything even more special. I know, right? I replied, smiling as our daughter, Anya, giggled in her crib. The days flew by in a blur of feedings, naps, and baby milestones.
She's sitting up on her own,
Priya exclaimed one afternoon, her voice filled with pride. She's growing so fast, I said, watching in amazement. We spent hours just marveling at Anya's every new achievement. Her first tooth, her first word, her first steps, all moments we would cherish forever. Say, Dada, I encouraged one day, trying to coax her into speaking. Mama, she replied instead, making Priya laugh.
Looks like she's a mama's girl,
Priya teased. For now, I joked, pretending to be hurt. But the truth was, I loved every moment of being a father. She's our little miracle, I often said, filled with gratitude. The nights were long and often sleepless, but they were also filled with quiet moments of bonding.
I never thought I could love anyone this much.
Priya whispered one night as she rocked Anya to sleep. Me neither, I replied, wrapping my arm around her. Our days were a mix of chaos and joy, but we learned to adapt. Parenting is a full-time job, I joked one morning as I changed a particularly messy diaper.
And the pay isn't great.
Priya added, laughing. But we wouldn't have traded it for anything. Watching Anya grow and thrive made every challenge worthwhile.
She is starting to look more like you.
Priya commented one day as we looked at Anya's latest photo. And she has your smile, I replied, feeling a swell of pride. As Anya's first birthday approached, we began planning a small celebration.
I can't believe it's been a year.
Priya said, shaking her head in disbelief. It feels like just yesterday we brought her home, I agreed. We invited close family and friends to the party, eager to celebrate Anya's first year of life.
She's going to love this cake,
Priya said as we decorated the living room with balloons and streamers. The day of the party arrived, and Anya was dressed in a cute little dress with a matching headband. She looks like a princess, my mother said, beaming with pride. She's the star of the show, I added, taking her in my arms. The party was a success, filled with laughter, cake, and lots of photos. Anya's eyes lit up as we sang Happy Birthday and helped her blow out the candle.
Make a wish,
Priya whispered to her, even though she was too young to understand. We took turns holding her as she opened her presents, her little hands grabbing at the colorful wrapping paper. She's going to be spoiled, I joked as she received one gift after another.
She deserves it,
Priya replied, kissing Anya's cheek. As the party wound down and our guests left, we sat on the couch, exhausted but happy.
We did it,
Priya said, leaning her head on my shoulder. 1 year of parenthood, I replied, smiling down at Anya, who was fast asleep in my arms.
And many more to come,
Priya added, her voice full of contentment. We watched Anya sleep, her tiny chest rising and falling peacefully. She's our greatest achievement, I said softly.
And our greatest joy,
Priya added, her eyes full of love. As we sat there, I realized that the past year had been the most challenging, yet the most rewarding, of our lives.
We've grown so much,
Priya reflected, looking up at me. As parents and as partners, I agreed. The first year of parenthood had tested us in ways we never imagined, but it had also brought us closer together. I wouldn't have done this with anyone else, I said, feeling a deep connection to her.
Me neither,
She replied, squeezing my hand. We knew that the years ahead would bring more challenges, but we were ready. Because no matter what, we had each other. And we had Anya, the little girl who had changed our lives forever. As we finally headed to bed that night, I whispered, Happy first birthday, Anya. And in the quiet of our home, with our daughter safe in her crib, we fell asleep, dreaming of the beautiful future ahead. As Anya approached her second birthday, Priya and I found ourselves adjusting to the ever-changing demands of parenting.
she's so curious now.
Priya said one morning as Anya explored every corner of the house. It's like she's discovering the world for the first time, I agreed, watching her with amusement. Anya's curiosity led to new challenges, but also to countless moments of wonder.
She's into everything,
Priya laughed as she retrieved a box of crayons from Anya's tiny hands. She's definitely keeping us on our toes, I added, helping clean up the mess. We quickly learned to adapt our routines to accommodate Anya's growing needs.
We are becoming pros at multitasking.
Priya joked as we prepared dinner while Anya played nearby. If we can survive this, we can handle anything, I said, grinning at the chaos around us. Our days were filled with balancing work, household chores, and caring for Anya.
I never thought I'd be so tired and so happy at the same time.
Priya said one evening as we finally settled down after a long day. It's a special kind of exhaustion, I replied, wrapping my arm around her. We also made sure to carve out time for ourselves, recognizing the importance of maintaining our relationship. Date night? I suggested one weekend, hoping to reconnect.
That sounds perfect.
Priya said, her eyes lighting up. We arranged for a babysitter and enjoyed a night out, reminiscing about our early days together.
Remember when we used to go dancing?
Priya asked, laughing as we shared a quiet dinner. Those were the days, I replied, smiling at the memory. But even as we enjoyed our time alone, we were always thinking of Anya.
I wonder what she's doing right now.
Priya said, glancing at her phone to check for updates from the babysitter. I'm sure she's having fun, I said, reassuring her. We returned home to find Anya happily asleep, and we felt a mix of relief and joy.
She's so perfect,
Priya whispered as she checked on her. And so loved, I added, feeling grateful for our little family. The challenges of parenting continued, from sleepless nights to the struggles of managing tantrums.
It's like she has a whole new set of rules every day,
Priya said one afternoon as Anya threw a tantrum over not getting her way. We just have to keep adapting, I replied, trying to stay calm.
and remind ourselves that this phase will pass,
Priya added, taking a deep breath. We found comfort in the small victories, like Anya's first steps and her first words. She's growing up so fast, I marveled, watching her walk across the room.
It's amazing to see her become her own person.
Priya said, her eyes full of pride. We also celebrated the everyday moments, from family walks to bedtime stories.
These are the moments I cherish the most,
Priya said as we read to Anya before bed. Me too, I agreed, savoring the closeness. As Anya's second birthday approached, we planned a small celebration with close friends and family.
She's going to love the cake,
Priya said, excitedly choosing the decorations. And the party games, I added, looking forward to seeing her reaction. The party was a hit, with Anya enjoying every minute of the attention and excitement.
She's having the time of her life,
Priya said as we watched Anya play with her new toys. And so are we, I replied, feeling content. We took lots of photos to capture the memories, knowing that these moments would become cherished keepsakes.
I can't believe how much she's grown,
Priya said, looking at the photos later. It's incredible, I agreed, reflecting on how far we had come. Parenthood was a journey filled with ups and downs, but we navigated it together with love and patience.
We make a great team,
Priya said one evening as we watched Anya sleep peacefully. Absolutely, I replied, feeling grateful for her support. We knew that the road ahead would continue to present challenges, but we faced them with optimism. As long as we stick together, we can handle anything, I said, holding Priya's hand.
And we will,
She replied, squeezing my hand in return. The love and commitment we had for each other made every challenge easier to face. And as we looked ahead to the future, we did so with hope and excitement for the adventures to come. Because we knew that, together, we could handle anything that life threw our way. And that, above all, was what made our journey as parents truly special. As Anya continued to grow, so did our bond as a family.
She's so independent now.
Priya remarked one day as Anya insisted on dressing herself. It's amazing to see her develop her own personality, I replied, smiling at Anya's determination. With each passing day, Anya's curiosity and energy seemed to grow.
She's like a little whirlwind.
Priya laughed as Anya raced around the house. She keeps us on our toes, that's for sure, I agreed, trying to keep up. We learned to cherish the small moments, like quiet mornings together and evening walks in the park.
These are the times I'll remember forever,
Priya said one evening as we strolled hand in hand with Anya between us. Me too, I replied, enjoying the simple joy of being together. Our conversations often revolved around Anya's latest milestones and the new challenges she brought.
She's asking so many questions now,
Priya noted one day, amused by Anya's endless curiosity. She's a little explorer, I said proudly, answering yet another of Anya's questions. Her questions ranged from simple to surprisingly complex, challenging us to find the right answers.
Why is the sky blue?
She asked one afternoon, looking up at us expectantly. Because of the way sunlight interacts with the atmosphere, I explained, trying to keep it simple.
Oh,
She replied, nodding as if she understood. Priya and I often marveled at how much Anya had changed our lives.
I never imagined parenthood would be like this.
Priya said one evening as we sat together after putting Anya to bed. It's more than I ever expected, I agreed, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. We found ourselves growing as individuals as well as parents.
I've learned so much from Anya.
Priya reflected, her voice soft with emotion. She's taught us patience, compassion, and unconditional love, I added, feeling the same way. As a couple, we grew stronger, learning to communicate better and support each other through the challenges of parenting.
We've become closer, haven't we?
Priya asked one night as we talked about our journey together. Absolutely, I replied, realizing how much our relationship had deepened. We made time for each other, knowing how important it was to nurture our bond as a couple. Let's have a date night, I suggested, wanting to reconnect with Priya.
I would love that,
She said, her eyes lighting up. We planned a simple evening, just the two of us, enjoying dinner and reminiscing about the past.
Remember our first date?
Priya asked, smiling at the memory. How could I forget? I replied, recalling how nervous and excited I had been. It felt good to take a break from the responsibilities of parenting and focus on us.
We need to do this more often.
Priya said, feeling recharged after our night out. Agreed, I replied, making a mental note to plan more date nights in the future. Balancing our roles as parents and partners was challenging, but we were committed to making it work.
We were in this together.
Priya often said, reminding us of our shared goals. And we always will be, I would reply, feeling grateful for her support. As Anya grew older, we faced new challenges, from choosing the right school to navigating her budding friendships.
She is starting school in next year,
Priya said one day, a mix of excitement and apprehension in her voice. It's a big step, I agreed, feeling a little nervous about the changes it would bring. We spent hours researching schools, visiting campuses, and discussing what would be best for Anya.
We want her to be happy and thrive,
Priya said, expressing what we both felt. We'll find the right place for her, I assured her, confident that we would make the best decision. The day Anya started school was both exciting and emotional.
I can't believe our little girl is going to school.
Priya said, tears in her eyes as we watched Anya in her new uniform. She's growing up so fast, I replied, feeling a lump in my throat. We walked her to the school gates, holding her hand and giving her words of encouragement.
You're going to have so much fun,
Priya said, kneeling down to hug Anya. Be brave and enjoy yourself, I added, giving her a kiss on the cheek. Anya smiled, her eyes bright with excitement, and then confidently walked into her classroom.
She didn't even look back,
Priya said, a mixture of pride and sadness in her voice. She's ready for this, I replied, feeling proud of how independent she was becoming. We spent the rest of the day anxiously waiting to hear how her first day went.
I wonder if she made any friends,
Priya said as we prepared dinner, unable to stop thinking about Anya. She's a social butterfly, I'm sure she did, I replied, trying to ease her worries. When we picked Anya up from school, she was full of stories about her day.
I made a friend.
She exclaimed, her face glowing with excitement.
That's wonderful.
Priya replied, smiling at her enthusiasm.
And we learned about colors.
Anya continued, eager to share every detail. We're so proud of you, I said, feeling a swell of pride in my chest. The first day of school was a milestone, not just for Anya, but for us as parents.
We've entered a new phase,
Priya said that evening as we reflected on the day. And we're ready for it, I replied, feeling optimistic about the future. The journey of parenthood was far from over, but we faced it with confidence and love.
We'll take it one day at a time,
Priya said, her voice filled with determination. Together, I added, knowing that as long as we had each other, we could handle anything. And with that, we embraced the challenges and joys of raising our daughter, knowing that we were growing together every step of the way. As we adjusted to our new routine with Anya in school, life took on a new rhythm.
It feels strange not having her around during the day,
Priya said one morning as we sat down to breakfast without Anya. I know what you mean, I replied, missing the constant buzz of energy that Anya brought to the house. But we also realized that this time apart was important for all of us.
She's learning and growing, and so are we,
Priya said, taking a sip of her coffee. It's a new chapter for all of us, I agreed, feeling a sense of excitement for what was to come. We found ourselves with more time to focus on our individual goals and interests.
I've been thinking about taking up painting again,
Priya said one afternoon as we discussed our plans for the future. That sounds like a great idea, I encouraged her, knowing how much she loved art.
And you could finally start that book you've been talking about,
Priya suggested, giving me a nudge. Maybe I will, I replied, feeling inspired by the possibilities. We made a conscious effort to support each other's dreams and aspirations.
We're in this together,
Priya said, as we set aside time each week to pursue our passions. And we'll always be each other's biggest cheerleaders, I added, feeling grateful for her unwavering support. As we continued to grow individually, our relationship also flourished.
I feel like we're rediscovering each other,
Priya said one evening as we enjoyed a quiet dinner together. It's like falling in love all over again, I replied, reaching across the table to hold her hand. We cherished these moments of connection, knowing how important they were for our relationship.
We've come a long way,
Priya said, reflecting on our journey together. And we still have so much more to experience, I replied, feeling excited about the future. Our conversations often turned to the dreams we had for our family.
I can't wait to take Anya on her first vacation,
Priya said, as we planned a family trip. She's going to love it, I agreed, imagining the joy on Anya's face as she experienced new places. We looked forward to creating new memories together, knowing that these moments would become the stories we cherished for years to come.
It's the little things that make life special,
Priya said as we watched Anya chase butterflies in the park. And we have so many little things to be grateful for, I added, feeling a deep sense of contentment. As Anya continued to grow, so did our love for her and for each other.
She's our greatest adventure,
Priya said, smiling as she watched Anya play. And our greatest joy, I replied, feeling the truth of those words in my heart. We embraced the challenges and changes that came with each new stage of life.
Change is a part of life,
Priya said one day, as we discussed the future. And we're ready for whatever comes our way, I replied, confident in our ability to face anything together. We knew that there would be ups and downs, but we also knew that our love would carry us through.
I'm proud of us,
Priya said one evening as we sat together, reflecting on all that we had accomplished. And I'm excited for what's next, I replied, feeling a sense of anticipation for the future. We knew that life would continue to bring new challenges and opportunities.
But as long as we have each other, we can face anything,
Priya said, her voice filled with confidence. Together, we're unstoppable, I added, knowing that our bond was unbreakable. As we continued to build our life together, we remained committed to growing and evolving as a family.
Our journey is just beginning,
Priya said, as we looked forward to the future. And I wouldn't want to experience it with anyone else, I replied, feeling grateful for the love and partnership we shared. We embraced each new day with joy and gratitude, knowing that we were building a life full of love, laughter, and endless possibilities.
Here's to the future,
Priya said, raising her glass in a toast to all that lay ahead. And to the love that will carry us through, I replied, clinking my glass against hers. With hearts full of love and hope, we looked forward to the many adventures that awaited us. Together, we knew we could achieve anything. And so, we continued to grow, to love, and to embrace the future with open hearts and minds, knowing that our journey was far from over. If you have visited on this channel first time, so please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye. Take care.